gearing up to witness the grandest of grand events on Jan 22 ahead of the Ram temple consecration. The return of Shri Ram to his rightful abode after 5 centuries into exile has stirred profound emotion throughout the universe. While Ram Mandir has gotten wrapped in flowers, illuminating ahead of mega Pran Pratishtha, Ayodhya is going to see 10 lakh diyas lit across the city. The entire temple town is already in the grip of religious fervor as the ancient Ayodhya Nagari has been tastefully decorated, especially the Rampath and the Dhanpath, the 2 street showpieces of what the government terms as the Navya, Divya and Bhavya Ayodhya. The enchanting chant of Jai Shri Ram has even resonated in the UK Parliament and reached countries like the US, Canada and Australia.
Jai Shri Ram to the entire Bharat. Congratulate everybody in India, including and especially Mr. Modi for his leadership.
When millions are eagerly preparing to witness the grand ceremony through live streaming and religious observances. Meanwhile, even though the Supreme Court's definitive verdict on the Ram Mandir in 2019 evidently proved Ram wahi the aur isiliye wahi hai, there remains a segment that continues to cry foul or criticize this historic decision, which was rather taken on the fundamental basis of all legal actions. To address those false narratives, let us today take you through the roots of the big movement, the people who shaped it, and the stories that you might not have heard before. Abundant evidences speak louder that Shri Ram temple in Ayodhya was demolished by the Mughal emperors and replaced by a mosque at the same location, so be it archaeological, documentary or iconological evidences. The truth is, the place rightly belonged to Shri Ram, Sabke Ram, and that is why there is a universal acceptance of the fact that it was the birthplace of Shri Ram. As in the words of Yogi Adityanath, the CM of UP, dedicated efforts were made to realize the dream of the Ram Mandir, for which the movement started in 1949. In 2019, when a historic Supreme Court judgment on the major dispute paved the way for the construction of the temple, Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone of Ram Mandir at Ayodhya. The 5-judge bench said the faith of Hindus that Lord Ram was born at the site was undisputed and he is symbolically the honor of the land. Following the inauguration of the first phase of the construction by Modi in 2020, Yogi Adityanath, the CM of UP, then laid the foundation stone for the Garbhagriha, Sanctum Sanctorum of Ram Mandir in June 2022, marking the beginning of the next phase of construction of the main temple. Even though it stands established beyond doubt that the idol of Ram Lala, which had been kept in a makeshift temple, was the birthplace of Ram, there lies a long history that led to the Ram Mandir movement. As the grand consecration of the Ram temple approaches, it is crucial to shed light on certain narratives presenting a clear account of the century-old struggle with certain facts and figures. As per several pieces of evidences, the re-establishment of the Ram temple is rooted from the time after the first Mughal emperor Babur razed the iconic Ayodhya Ram temple to construct a mosque over it in the 16th century. Many academics and politicians as well as historical accounts establish that the mosque was built by Babur after demolishing a temple in Ayodhya, the capital of Ram's father, King Dashrath, in the Ramayana, and that Babri Masjid was built in 1528 during the Mughal era by Mir Baqi, who was said to be a commander in the court of Emperor Babur. It was only in 2019 that the Supreme Court awarded the disputed site to Ram Lala. The government of Bharat had asked both the parties to this dispute to submit all the relevant historical proofs and documents as to whether any Hindu temple was destroyed for the construction of Babri Masjid. Evidence meaning human or material testimonials, which clearly favored that there indeed was a Hindu temple which was forcibly converted into a mosque. Or alternatively, there was something other than a temple, say a vacant land, and the mosque was constructed without any intervention into then existing modes or systems of worship. As per another report, which rather provides some thoughtful data of the timeline of the Ayodhya legal dispute, can be traced back to 1880s, when the spot became a religious flashpoint between Hindus and Muslims, which started with an alleged dispute in 1855. when Sunni Muslims claimed that the temple in nearby Hanumangarh was built after demolishing a mosque. The incident led to clashes between Muslims and Bairagis, at the end of which it is believed that Wajid Ali Shah ruled in favor of the Hindus in the matter. By 1859, the British government had erected a fence around Babri Masjid amid a growing belief that the spot was the location of Ram Janmabhoomi, the birthplace of Lord Ram. In 1885, what may be seen as one of the first pleas in the land dispute case was filed in court in Faizabad by Mahant Raghubir Das. The plea, which sought permission for building a canopy outside the contested structure, was rejected. Now comes an important day in terms of historic appearance of Ram idol. On December 23, 1949, when Ram Lala's appearance at Ayodhya's Ram Janmabhoomi sparked widespread attention, thousands flocked to witness the idol under the disputed structure's dome, which is believed to have manifested spontaneously. However, both the then central and state governments led by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Chief Minister Govind Vallabh Pant decided to restore the situation to pre-December 22, 1949. However, in 1950, a suit was filed in Faizabad District Court by Gopal Simla Visharad seeking the right to worship the idol. Another petition to continue the worship and keep the idols was filed the same year by Paramahansa Ramchandra Das. In 1959, the Nirmohi Akhara filed a suit seeking possession of the site. The suit is followed by another filed by UP Sunni Central Waqf Board in 1961 seeking possession of the site, says a report by Beyond News. This politics, after a respite for about 2 decades, heated up once again in the latter half of the 80s after a local UP court ordered the then Rajiv Gandhi-led Congress government to open the site for Hindu worshippers in 1986. The move led to religious tensions in UP as anti-Hindu propaganda was formed into political and social spaces in the country. In August 1989, the Allahabad High Court ordered a status quo in respect of the disputed structure. The hearings later began in 2002. And in 2003, the Supreme Court forbade religious activity of any nature inside the acquired land. In 2010, the court ruled in favor of a three-way division of the disputed area with a 2:1 majority and divided the site into 3 parts, with Sunni Waqf Board, Nirmohi Akhara and Ram Lala each receiving a third of it. In 2011, the Allahabad High Court verdict was stayed by the Supreme Court. In 2017, CJI J.S. Kheher suggested out-of-court settlement among rival parties. A 3-judge bench was constituted by the Supreme Court the same year to hear the civil pleas against the 1994 Allahabad High Court verdict. The hearings began the following year. In 2018, the Supreme Court reserved its verdict on the matter. It was in 2019 that the Supreme Court set up a 5-judge constitution bench to hear the title case. In the same year, the centre moved the Supreme Court for permission to return the 67 acres acquired land around the disputed site to its original owners. The Supreme Court ruled that the case be mediated by a panel headed by former Apex Court Judge FMI Kalifullah. Daily hearings in the case started after the failure of the mediation process in August 2019. The historic decision of 2019 came when the Supreme Court ruled that the central dome of the demolished 3-dome structure where the idol of Ramlala was kept in a makeshift temple is indeed the place where Lord Ram was born. On November 9, the Supreme Court granted all the 2.77 acres of the land in Ayodhya to the deity Ramlala and also ruled that the possession of land will remain with the central government receiver. At the same time, the centre and UP government were also directed to allot 5 acres of land to the Muslims at a prominent place for building a mosque. In 2020, a 15-member trust for Ram Temple in Ayodhya was announced in Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the Bhumi Pujan at Ayodhya, commencing the temple construction on the previously disputed site. The core of all legal actions rests on the premise that a Shri Ram temple was historically demolished and replaced by a mosque at the same location. One notable instance is attributed to the rule of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, who ordered the temple's demolition as a punitive measure. viewing it as a source of subversive ideas which led to the destruction of several temples, with mosques constructed in their place. One notable instance is attributed to the rule of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, who ordered the temple's demolition as a punitive measure, viewing it as a source of subversive ideas which led to the destruction of several temples, with mosques constructed in their place, as detailed by historian Satish Chandra. The temple faced destruction on two earlier occasions, including an attack in 1194 CE by Aibak and another during Queen Razia's reign, resulting in the construction of a mosque. The temple was reconstructed during Akbar's reign only to face demolition again during Aurangzeb's rule. Interestingly, a section of the temple was intentionally preserved as the rear wall of the mosque, later known as the Gyanvapi Mosque. Nonetheless, after the years of struggle, when the day has finally arrived, the historical victory of the devotees of Ram stands incomplete without mentioning the names of former BJP leaders like L.K. Advani, Kalyan Singh, Uma Bharti, who played an indispensable role in this movement. The idea behind the Pradhan Sankalp is that the Pratishtha of Lord Ram is being done for the welfare of all, for the welfare of the nation, for the welfare of humanity, and also to those who contributed to this work. PTI quoted Arun Dikshit as saying, from L.K. Advani, who started the Ram Mandir movement, to PM Modi, who finally inaugurated the temple in Ayodhya, the party leaders selflessly contributed and shaped the Ram Mandir movement. Meanwhile, Hindus worldwide are rejoicing over the fact that the idol of Ramlala was placed inside the sanctum sanctorum of the Ram temple in Ayodhya on Thursday, ahead of the Ram Janmabhoomi Mandir Pratishtha ceremony on Monday. The 51-inch Ramlala idol, sculpted by Mysore resident who has a family background of 5 generations of famous sculptors, was brought to the temple on Wednesday. Ayodhya is being decked up to host the historic event as thousands of artisans, cultural performers are lodged in the city. More than 7,500 eminent guests, including over 4,000 saints, will be attending the grand Pran Pratishtha of Lord Ramlala's idol on Monday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will preside over the consecration ceremony on January 22, a landmark event that will fulfill the Bharatiya Janata Party's core ideological promises and will likely be a key part of the party's manifesto for the 2024 Lok Sabha polls. But before we sign off, let us walk you through the mesmerizing, exclusive images of the decorated, newly built Ram temple in Ayodhya, released by the Shri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust ahead of the Pran Pratishtha ceremony, as people can be seen giving final touches to the temple. Jai Shri Ram.